All right, welcome. We are talking about genetics today. We're going to talk a little bit more about Punnett squares, and specifically today we're talking about types of dominance. Our learning intention today is going to be I can name 3 ways in which traits are expressed and use these to predict the phenotypes and genotypes of different individuals. So far in terms of genetics, we've talked about dominance as being complete, meaning that our heterozygote or heterozygous combination looks exactly like our homozygous dominant combination of genes. And today we're going to look at some different varieties or different variations on this theme of dominance. And we're also going to learn about something called X-linked genes and what effect that has on our male populations. Make sure we're going to put this notebook page is going to be 15. You can put the title and the learning intention down, pause it if you need to. I am going to move forward. Oh yeah, so here's a little joke that I made thanks to one of the students here. They said I don't make enough jokes about, or puns about the Punnett square, so here we go. We've got Christopher Walken, we've got The Rock, and we're going to cross it with this, the sun and a piece of wood. So our joke types are going to be like this. And in the top left corner, we've got Walking on Sunshine. Bottom left, we've got Rockstar. Upper right, we've got Walking the Plank. And then last but not least, we have Boardwalk. All right. So far, we have discussed what is known as complete dominance, which is when a single dominant allele in a heterozygote masks other phenotypes. So here's what I want you to do. You are going to make 3 column notes today, and I'm going to model this for you. And you're going to write complete dominance as one of our terms. You're going to write this definition in the middle column, and then we're going to have an example in the far right column. So here's what that will look like. All right, so this is what it's going to look like in your note page. You're going to have the title at the top. You will probably have that bigger than I do. You have the learning intention, and then in the question column, we're going to write down the name of the word that we are studying. In the middle column, we are going to... Okay, sorry, someone was at the door. I had to answer it. We are going to divide our note section into another 2/3, so that we'll have about 1/3 for the term, 1/3 for the definition, and then 1/3 for examples. This is what I want you to have your note sheet set up as. As you go forward, I'm not going to continue to reference this. I just wanted to make sure that you had it looking like this. All right, so moving back to our presentation. Complete dominance is when a single dominant allele in the heterozygote masks other phenotypes. This is the type of dominance that we've done so far with all of our problems. So all of the Dragon genetic stuff, all of the problems up to this point have been for complete dominance. We're going to learn about a couple different types of dominance as we move forward today. Because, as it mentions down here, isn't life much more interesting than either ors? So far we've had phenotypes like you have a tail or you don't have a tail. You have widow's peak, you don't have widow's peak. But as we have probably noticed, or you have probably noticed in your life, there are traits that are a lot more complex than either or. And here's some examples. We've got a calico cat, we've got a flower with red and white, we've got a cow here who's got brown and white fur or hair. What do they all have in common? Ultimately, what it is that they're expressing 2 different traits, 2 different colors at the same time. So we've got an orange and black and white. We've got red and white. We've got brown and white. All right? And so this type of trait, when we can see both phenotypes, we call codominant. So codominant, you're going to write down in our definition side, and we are going to call that both phenotypes are expressed in the heterozygotes, or the heterozygote. In other words, here we have a brown cow, we have a white cow, we breed them, and they're going to give us a spotted brown cow, a spotted brown cow, spotted, because they're showing both white and brown. They're codominant. Okay, so back to the notes. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so the term that I'm adding in is going to be codominant. That's a different type of it's a different type of inheritance or dominance, and the term for that is going to be both phenotypes show up in the heterozygote combination, which gives us to the examples: calico cats, spotted cows, and blood type. These are all different examples of what a codominant phenotype might look like. All right, and now we're back at the codominance again, where both phenotypes are expressed in our heterozygote combinations. The next thing I want you to do is take some time and on your left page assignment, or in the left page of this note sheet, I want you to try to do a cross here where we're looking at, calico cats. If we have a black cat, it's got a genotype of capital B, capital B. An orange cat is going to be lowercase b, lowercase b, and then calico is going to be the heterozygote combination. So I want you to cross a tabby cat, which is to say an orange cat, with a black cat, like this one, and then come up with the various phenotypes that may result in that particular cross. Go ahead and do this in your notebook. Pause it here and then move into the next type. I'm going to move along. So you should pause, but I'm going to keep talking, and then you can come back to this. Okay, the next type of trait that we're looking at is presented here. So here the question is, what do all these traits have in common? Well, if we look at this white flower here, we've got white, red, and pink. With hair type, we've got straight, wavy, curly. Horse coat, white, tan, and chestnut. And I learned that this is actually called cremello. This one is called palomino, and this one's called chestnut. If you're a horse enthusiast, maybe you already knew that. Okay, so what they all have in common, though, is that our traits they're blended. So we have white and red. If this was dominant, we would never see this pink color. But this is a different type of dominance, and so the one in between, or the heterozygous, is a blending of the traits. If we blend red and white, we get pink. A blending of the traits with hair, we've got straight and curly. The in-between combination is wavy. Here we've got a white horse and a chestnut horse. The in-between combination is this palomino or tan color. Okay? And in this case, the term for this type of dominance is called incomplete dominance. And that's when we have a blended phenotype in our heterozygote pair. So let's look at this Punnett square here. The homozygous dominant gave us red, homozygous recessive gave us white, and then the heterozygotes were a blend between these, which was pink. Just like if we're mixing white and red on a paint palette, we're going to get pink. And that's exactly what incomplete dominance is. It's a blending of the two phenotypes. Okay? Go ahead, add this into your notebook, and you can share some of these examples that I have on this page, and maybe think of some of your own examples as well. Then the practice problem for this one is we have wavy and curly hair and straight hair. And I've got the genotypes listed here. So curly hair we're saying is homozygous dominant, wavy hair is the heterozygote, and straight hair is the homozygous recessive. We're going to say that we have a mom who has wavy hair, a dad who has curly hair, and we're going to look at the possible offspring that this combination could result in. This is a practice problem that I want you to do on the left side of your page. All right, on that blank page, you're going to go ahead and do this cross. And if you want to, you can, when you're done, you can find me in the classroom or find a partner and see if they got the same answers. But I am going to continue. All right, here's our last question, which is, why is it that only men seem to go bald? Have you ever noticed this? I'm sure you have. There are a number of different traits that affect men only, and one of them is baldness. And this has to do with our X and Y chromosomes. So in order to be genetically female, you have to get 2 X chromosomes from your parents. In order to be genetically male, you'll get an X and a Y chromosome, which means that if a gene exists only on the X chromosome, the male is going to get only one copy of that gene. So if we only get one copy of it, it doesn't matter what it is. That's the trait we're going to have. As opposed to other traits where we get two versions of every gene, then we're going to have some funky things going on. We might have complete dominance, incomplete, or codominant. In the case of X-linked genes, if you're a male, you only get one copy. So it's just whatever you get is what you get. In this case, we're looking at baldness, and we show the allele in this case. We show that it's on the X chromosome by drawing an X, and then we use a superscript letter to indicate what that particular gene is. So here we're looking at hair. Capital H means you're going to retain your hair. Lowercase h in the superscript means you're going to lose your hair. You're going to go bald. And we'll say this is completely recessive. So if we have, okay, sorry, people keep disturbing me coming to my door. So I think we're talking about baldness, and mom has a capital H, which means that she is a carrier of baldness, because this means that they'll retain their hair for their entire life. This allele means that they'll go bald. However, it's a complete dominance pattern, meaning that if you're female, you have to have two copies of this particular allele. And we do the cross, so dad, we're saying, is capital X, or X, because he gets one X chromosome from his mother, and she passed on to him the hair trait. So he's going to have hair his entire life. And then he doesn't have a partner X because he's male, genetically male. He has a Y chromosome, which does not have this set of genes. It has a different set of genes. So he only gets one copy of this. And he can only pass this on to his children. So for all of his daughters, he's going to give this X capital H here, and mom's going to give X capital H or X lowercase h. So we do the cross, and we see that we have one daughter who's going to have hair. We have a second daughter, like mom, who's going to be a carrier. We have a boy who's going to have hair, and we have a boy who's going to be going bald at an earlier age. So these are all the different possibilities, and that is what happens when we have a gene that exists on the X chromosome. Males only get one copy of it because the Y chromosome has a whole different set of genes. Okay, and color blindness is another X-linked gene. So here I'm giving you some different alleles, and I'm giving you mom and dad's genotype. You can go ahead and predict what are the possible outcomes of their offspring. Again, once you finish this, you can check with me or check with a classmate to see if they got similar answers. Now, you can pause, you can do that, and then when you come back, we're going to look at this wrap-up question. So the wrap-up question says that Mr. Zimbrick in a former life was a dragon breeder living in Romania, and I studied the trait of saber-tooth in dragons. And saber-tooth is a trait that results in long pointed canine teeth, as these ones right here. I noticed that only male dragons ever seem to have saber-tooth phenotypes. But one day after venturing deep into the mountains, I found a female dragon with saber teeth, and it was quite frightening. Given what you know about the different dominance patterns, explain how it's possible for a female dragon to have a saber-tooth phenotype. This is what I want you to answer in your summary box of this notes section. Okay, so far for your notes, you should have the definition of complete dominance. You should have the definition of codominance. You should have the definition for incomplete dominance. You should have a definition for X-linked genes. And then in the summary section, you're going to have this answer to this wrap-up question. All right? So thank you for listening to me today. Thank you for taking the time to do this lesson. And please come to me in class if you have any questions about this stuff. All right? Have a good day.